Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone, and we're going to need it after what Joe Biden just did. President Biden is delivering the ultimate Christmas present not to the American people but to Big Pharma while decapitating the MAGA agenda in one fell swoop. This is something big pharmaceutical corporations have been lobbying the Biden administration to do ever since Trump's win. They went into overdrive. We reported on this a few weeks ago and said there was no way Joe Biden would capitulate to this. This is one step too far. Well, he did. Before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel. Consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. Biden's actions and immunity extension. With just 3 weeks left in Joe Biden's term, this lame duck president continues to make a mockery out of the presidency and give a giant middle finger to the American people, capitulating to the big pharma lobby. Yesterday, something we've been reporting on since Donald Trump won the presidency became a reality. Biden just extended ultimate immunity protection for Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and all the big pharmaceutical companies. Now, they will have immunity until 2029, the year Trump leaves office. This is what corporate capture looks like in our federal government. Our president doing the bidding of Big Pharma. It's disgusting. Watch this HHS decision and implications. In yet another move to hamstring the MAGA agenda, Joe Biden's Department of Health and Human Services extended the liability shield for COVID vaccine makers through the end of 2029, the year Trump will leave office. What are they shielding manufacturers from if these vaccines are so safe? HHS's vaccine injury compensation program still doesn't cover injuries from the COVID vaccine. A different little known government program can, but it's being slow walked. Fewer than 3,500 claims have had decisions, and of those, only 18 have been compensated, while 3,373 have been denied. Expert commentary. Dr. Rich McCormack. Joining us now is a member of the House Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Pandemic and a former emergency room doctor, Congressman Rich McCormack from Georgia. Doctor and Congressman, great to see you. If these COVID vaccines continue under this program until 2029, individuals cannot sue these companies for potential harm, and those approved for compensation won't even receive pain and suffering damages. What's Biden and his administration up to with this decision? Dr. McCormack's response. Well, it's not just that. If you look at the way this is designed, people have no repercussions. They can't sue these companies for creating vaccinations that may or may not be harmful. We've held cigarette companies accountable. We've talked about holding oil companies accountable for global warming. But when it comes to something causing real physical harm, especially to healthy people who don't need the vaccine, we don't hold anyone accountable. It's a ridiculous double standard that shows who they're favoring. Quite frankly, we just had a hearing that revealed 40% of FEMA's budget this year was diverted to COVID, even though the pandemic has been over for 2 years. Vaccine mandates under Biden. Let me get this straight. Over the past 4 years, Americans endured some of the worst abuse and psychological torture during the pandemic. The federal government played politics and enforced its will over the people. Biden granted himself additional powers via emergency declarations, mandating the jab for federal employees, military members, and workers at companies with over 100 employees. For anyone saying they weren't forced, they could have just quit their job. Let's be honest, do you have a family? Do you depend on healthcare and paychecks? Most people do. So yes, millions were forced into this. Mandates in the military. It's still on the Department of Defense website to this day. Service members must be vaccinated or face consequences. Defense Department officials have made it clear that members of the military, including the National Guard, must comply. Those who refuse face loss of pay, inability to train, and eventual discharge. Final blow by Biden. After 4 years of hell, Biden is leaving office with a final slap in the face to Americans by extending Big Pharma's immunity protection until 2029. He caved to lobbyists and made it impossible for Trump to reverse this immediately. Congress would have to pass legislation to override it, but that's a tough battle with rhinos in the Senate standing in the way. Broader implications. This year alone, FEMA spent 40% of its budget on COVID, even though the pandemic has been over for years. Dr. McCormack points out the need for accountability and transparency, especially with so much money being shifted around in the background. Can Trump or Congress reverse this? Here's the question: can Trump come into office and roll this back? Or can Congress do it? The truth is, this will require significant effort. With the trifecta in Congress, Republicans have a narrow margin and a long to-do list. There's a lot of fighting ahead, but if they get it right, there's a chance to save America. Never again should Americans be forced to take a jab under coercion. Never again should people lose their jobs over government mandates. This should be a turning point where the government stops forcing people into submission. That wraps up this episode. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see you next time.